Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, the Oxford Village Council places a moratorium on enforcing outdoor sales ban. Assistant manager is leaving for Troy, and a candidate's email prompts state inquiry about boarding schools.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Last week, Council voted 4-0 to stop enforcement of a section of the zoning ordinance that prohibits outdoor displays, sale, and storage of merchandise in the Central Business District. The new ordinance will last until October 15th, and during this time, no new outdoor storage can occur without it if it is currently non-existent.
Tensions ran high last week when Oxford School Superintendent Tim Throne read to the board a stern letter from the state of Michigan at the September school board meeting. Throne appeared surprised by the letter's allegations that Oxford operates a boarding school and assured the board that the state officials will be made aware that there is no such facility within the school system. According to the state of Michigan, a boarding school is defined as a place that education also provides rooming and care for 5 or more students under the age of 16. Following Throne's commitments regarding the allegations, one board member stated he was offended by the actions of a current school board candidate who allegedly caused the state to believe the school system was running a boarding school type dorm. The board member asked the running candidate to move to a different district and run there.
Harry and Muriel Alburn celebrated their 75th wedding anniversary last Sunday afternoon at the American Legion Post 108 in Oxford. It was Harry's military service responsible for bringing the two together during World War II. To commemorate this milestone, the couple was presented with a beautiful plaque. The Alburns were married on October 2nd, 1943 at St. Andrew's Church in Wimbledon, London, England.
Nearly 2,000 absentee ballots are expected for the November 6th general election and will be arriving in the Oxford mailboxes this week. Oxford Parks and Rec Director Ron Davis is hoping voters will approve the Parks and Rec's request for renewal of their operating millage. The renewal will be for a continuation of a 15-year 1 mil property tax. If approved, the levy would begin with the December 2018 tax collection and will end in December of 2032.
Oxford Township Clerk Curtis Wright reminds the public that Tuesday, October 9th, is the last day to register to vote. You can register at the Township Hall or at any Secretary of State office before 4 p.m. on Election Day. The Township office is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. To register to vote, people must be at least 18 years old on Election Day and a U.S. citizen and resident of the municipality in which they're registering. Absentee ballots are being sent to Oxford voters this week.
41-year-old Roberto Rodriguez of Oxford was arrested and jailed last week for allegedly running from police and resisting arrest. Police stopped him for speeding in downtown Oxford. The Oxford Village police officer observed Rodriguez weaving through traffic at over 50 miles per hour through the downtown area, which has a speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Remember, it's only 30 through town. According to the report, after pulling him over, Rodriguez started acting strange and reaching into his glove box, watching traffic lights, and into his car mirrors as if he was going to take off. Rodriguez was arrested with no option of bond and taken to North Carolina to face penalties for violating his parole there.
After about 15 months on the job, Assistant Oxford Village Manager Drew Benson is moving on. He accepted an administrative position with the City of Troy, and his last day was October 4th. Benson thanked the village council at his September 25th meeting for the opportunity to serve this community. Benson began working for the village on June 26, 2017. He was brought in by James Vettorino, who was the interim village manager at the time. Benson's original title was Assistant Interim Manager.
Well, I think he's going to be missed.
I think we're going to miss him a lot.
He did a pretty good job. He came in when it was a little rough in that office.
You say a little?
I think he's held his own very well. He actually turned out to be a really good kid, so I wish him well.
Yes, I agree. And I did stop in. I did get an opportunity to talk to him before he left, and
God.
expressed, what a great job I thought he did.
Yeah, he did a great job, and then rebuilt a website, which is really nice. I was hoping he could help us with that, but oh well.
Yeah, I've been working on that committee, of course, with him.
Right.
And very knowledgeable young man.
Yeah, he sure is.
Yeah, and of course they have hired a company that will oversee that at this point. So he has assured us that there's no loose ends left, with the village.
With the village,
so it's good.
and he did a good job.
Yep.
He's a go-getter. I have a feeling Troy's not his last stop. But so if you get a chance to see Drew before he goes, or if he comes back into Oxford, shake his hand and tell him thanks. So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, you can pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us on our website, OCCTV.org, on YouTube, and of course your regular Charter Spectrum channel 191 or AT&T channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV School News with Alexis Ware. Also, our very own Cody Wright with his sports report. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And Elgin Nichols, remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. All of our stories today, by the way, are from space. A $520 million spacecraft is getting ready to weather an incoming meteoroid storm. The Gaia telescope is currently mapping the Milky Way from a point in deep space which was set to be showered with grains of comet dust on October 8th. Mission operators at the European Space Agency say they will have commanded the spacecraft to rotate and shield itself to avoid any damage. The maneuver comes as a result of a study led by Oriane Egel of the University of Western Ontario in Canada. The team says that Gaia is due to encounter a stream of Draconid meteoroids, essentially flecks of dust previously deposited in space by the comet 21P Giacobini-Zinner. These Draconids will approach Gaia from an angle above its protective sunshield, so ESA has been forced to take action. There is a direct path into the telescope, says Gaia Spacecraft Operations Manager David Milligan. As such, they plan to rotate the craft to put the sunshield in the direction of the Draconids, he says. The ESA team hopes that the better shielding from Gaia's enormous circular sunshield will protect the spacecraft from any potential damage from the meteoroids. Egel says that they will be traveling at a speed of roughly 18 miles per second when they hit. Egel's simulations predict that most particles hitting Gaia will be larger than 1 millimeter in size, but it is possible that only smaller meteoroids hit, or even none at all, she says. If there are impacts, Gaia may be able to sense them by registering the minuscule jolt they give the spacecraft, which could tell us more about these kinds of meteor showers. This is important because the Draconids is an irregular and hard-to-predict shower, which is a potential threat for satellites, says Egel. Wow. In our next story, it's a lander bonanza on the asteroid Ryugu. The Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency's Hayabusa 2 spacecraft has just dropped off its third lander on the surface of the asteroid. The Mobile Asteroid Surface Scout, or MASCOT, lander is the largest of 4 that Hayabusa 2 will be deploying on Ryugu over the course of its mission. It's a box about 20 centimeters tall, about 30 centimeters across, and weighing just under 10 kilograms. It doesn't move around using wheels like most rovers, but uses a tungsten arm that swings around to make the lander tumble and hop across the ground. Mascot is fitted with a camera, a radiometer to measure the temperature of the surface and its surrounding dust, a spectrometer to investigate what the dust is made of, and a magnetometer to determine Ryugu's magnetic field. Hayabusa 2 will take samples, but it will destroy the surface when it takes the samples, says Ralph Jallman at the German Aerospace Center, Mascot's principal investigator. Mascot will give us the context of the samples from the surface, the ground truth. Unlike the mission's other landers, which are powered by solar panels, Mascot only has a 16-hour non-rechargeable battery, so it will be a mad rush to tumble around and take measurements from the 3 different spots on the surface. Researchers hope that the measurements from this lander will help figure out exactly what Ryugu was made of, which could help confirm how it was formed. Because asteroids like this are relics from the early space or early solar system, this could also help us understand the history of planets. In our last story, China's second space station, Tiangong-2, is coming back to Earth as planned. It will finish its 2-year mission as a temporary space station and start deorbiting for a controlled destruction in the middle of next year. Tiangong-2 blasted off from the Zhangchan Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert in northern China in September of 2016. The 8.6-ton spacecraft serves as a laboratory for 14 experiments, including a plant cultivation study, a quantum communication experiment, and a robotic arm. Tiangong-2 is currently operating in a near-circular orbit about 400 kilometers above us, according to the China Manned Space Engineering Office. To deorbit, the Space Lab's engine will need to thrust the ship out of its current orbit and towards Earth. Earlier this year, Tiangong-1, China's first space station, came crashing down to Earth after ground operators lost control during a deorbit operation. The country's space agency says that Tiangong-2 is equipped with multiple features to control the deorbit procedure. They also have contingency plans in case of emergencies. Both the Tiangong space stations are precursors to China's permanent space station. The Chinese space station, with 1/6 the mass of the International Space Station, is planned to launch around 2022. Good luck with that. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello and welcome back to School News. This week is really exciting because it's homecoming week. Before I get too into the rundown for the following week, I want to recognize 4 students from leadership at Oxford High School: Joey Miller, Marie Moore, Allie Donovan, and Anna Rabb. Thank you for taking the time out to help me understand what the leadership team is all about. Let's take a quick look from that day as they explain to me the events they've planned for the rest of the week.
Monday we have Spirit Day. Yeah, we have our Spirit Week that starts Monday. And then Friday is the football game and our parade through downtown.
And we have an assembly during school.
Yeah. And then on Thursday night even, we have a bonfire that we host. And so we have cider, donuts. Everyone can just come and get super excited for the day to come. And so our homecoming day, some of the kids from the leadership class are pulled out of class to start setting up for the assembly, because without their help, nothing would get done and we wouldn't be able to have it.
Thank you to all of the leadership members and teachers, and a special thank you to those 4 students. So very much like you just heard, in the following days you can expect to have a busy schedule with Spirit Days back to back, a pep rally, parade, and the homecoming game. Of course, the homecoming dance is on Saturday. On the list of Oxford Middle School as far as Spirit Days for this week, they had Disney Character Day today. Tomorrow is Superhero or Supervillain Day. Wednesday is Disney Hats. Thursday is Up Day, where students wear their assigned colors for their grade. And Friday is Blue and Gold Day. For the high school, students wore their class colors today. Tomorrow is Spirit Day with Pajama Day. Wednesday is Concert T-shirt Day. Thursday, they're having a Disney Day, and just like Oxford Middle School, Friday is Blue and Gold Day to support school colors. Also on Friday, Oxford Elementary School has a half-day release at 12:15, which will make their school day from 9 a.m. until 12:15. The rest of the district has a 12:05 to 1:05 dismissal time. Check with individual schools to find out the exact times for Friday. And starting at 5 p.m. on Friday evening is the annual homecoming parade. After, it's straight to the game to cheer on the Wildcats to victory. It's recommended that you probably get to the game a little bit before 5 o'clock because it will be busy. After the game, you want to go home and rest up because Saturday evening is the dance for all high school students. The dance will be held at Balder Point as years past and will begin at 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. that night. Look forward to seeing OCTV there. Rachel Baker and myself will be attending the dance in our homecoming dresses to share the night with the students. We have a lot of fun things planned for not only this week, but for the rest of the school year for students' grades, early learning, all the way to 12th grade. Really soon, we hope to have a student at Oxford Middle School join me in doing school news, and eventually we hope to have a student co-host about every other week. If you have any suggestions as to how to improve school news or have any students you believe should be recognized, not just from the high school, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page at Oxford Community Television. That's all for school news. Join us again next week for all of the homecoming highlights. Here's Cody Wright with School Sports.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again for this week's Sports Report. I gotta tell you guys, this really has turned out to be a great fall season, but just a reminder, the days are going by and we are starting to creep up on the end of the season. We still have playoffs to look forward to, but most of these sports are going to be finishing up their regular season in the next couple of weeks. Anyhow, let's dive in and see how things shaped up this last week. Well, I've said it time and time again, the football team is phenomenal this year. Drew Carpenter in the quarterback position has been crucial for us, and defensively with guys like Joseph Ficcaro and Evan Brunning, just to name a few, not to mention running back Trent Meyer. I mean, this team is very solid. This last week, all three teams performed great. Varsity on the road taking on Stony Creek, absolutely punishing them to a final score of 48-7. JV also took on Stony, however, it was here at home taking it to them as well, 34-8. And of course, freshmen who proved to be reliant in the years to come, taking the win against Groves at home, 44-28. It doesn't get much better than that, you guys. A big W for Oxford football last week. The boys varsity soccer team have also been great this year as well, currently holding the number 2 position in the league. On the 27th, they continued that, both varsity and JV taking on Anchor Bay on the road. Varsity took the win 4-1, which is quite a deficit for the sport. However, JV fell hard 7-0 on Tuesday. The varsity team had a big game here at home, taking on the number 1 spot Groves High School. We were at the game, and let me tell you, the boys played fantastic. Groves was a tough team, and for a while we had them for a while. However, in the last part of the second half, they took it back and closed the game with the lead. The final score was 2-1. You can't forget about the girls volleyball team, one I always thought was a crowd favorite. These girls also had a phenomenal week on Tuesday, taking on Bloomfield Hills here at home. All 3 clubs played and all 3 clubs swept. We got the brooms out, never let up, once again chalking this week up with a big W for Oxford volleyball. And last but certainly not least is the girls swim and dive team, who also saw nothing but success this week. The girls took on West Bloomfield at home, taking the overall meet score 113-73, also taking down Notre Dame Prep the same day, 106-74. Like I said, this has been a great season for our athletes, both upper and lower classmen, all showing that this season and the ones to come will be interesting. It's going to go by fast, so if you haven't made your way out to some of these events to show your support, I suggest you do so before it's too late. For info on when the games are and where these games will be, you can go to oxfordathletics.org. Plenty of game breakdowns, statistics, and upcoming dates, plus more, all right there at oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at OCCTV.org. All of our coverage of these events are posted on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is OCCTV.org. And that's going to do it for this week's Sports Report. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Hi, I'm Elgin Nichols with Oxford Community Television.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we represent Minutes by Minute, in which case you want to catch local information that's going on with your government officials.
That's right. Whether you live in the village of Oxford, Oxford Township, village of Leonard, Addison Township, we'll cover it all.
All of the above. And we'll look to see you there.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories come from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Honda Motor Company will invest $2.7 billion in General Motors' autonomous vehicle operations, including plans to develop and deploy a purpose-built self-driving vehicle. The Japanese automaker will receive a 5.7% stake in GM Cruise LLC for the investment, which includes an immediate $750 million and another $2 billion for development and deployment of self-driving vehicles over the next 12 years, GM and Honda executives said. Honda, according to GM CEO Mary Barra, will provide Cruise with additional engineering, design, and technology expertise and assist in the company's global reach and the ability to deploy at scale. The investment from Honda comes roughly 9 months after GM announced plans to launch public ride-hailing services with self-driving vehicles that don't have manual controls, such as steering wheels and pedals, starting in 2019. GM President Dan Ammann said next year remains the objective. However, he stressed that safety will be the determining factor when the vehicles launch. Cruise CEO Kyle Vogt, in a post on Medium, said the company has already started quietly prototyping a groundbreaking new vehicle over the past 2 years that is fully released from the constraints of having a driver behind the wheel. Cruise's current self-driving fleet is based on the Chevrolet Bolt EV. The newest iteration of the car took out the manual controls such as pedals and steering wheels, however, still has the traditional interior of a car. Ammann, on a call with investors, said the plan is for GM, not Honda, to manufacture the vehicle. GM was expected to begin testing its autonomous vehicles this year in New York, but however, Mary Barra said on October 3rd that the company is focusing its current efforts in San Francisco. Honda's investment in GM Cruise comes 4 months after the two companies announced plans to develop a new generation of batteries aimed at cutting costs and accelerating the company's rollout of electric vehicles. In our next story, AM General has put itself up for sale and has hired investment bank Macquarie Group to seek potential bidders in a deal that could value the builder of Humvee military vehicles at more than $2 billion, people familiar with the matter said on October 1st. Potential bidders include competitors in the military ground vehicle market such as General Dynamics, Oshkosh Corporation, and BAE Systems, according to two people familiar with the matter. Automakers like Fiat Chrysler and General Motors may also be potential buyers, one of the sources said. The company's favorable tax treatment because of its current status as a limited liability corporation would allow a buyer to reduce the company's taxable earnings for 15 years. That, coupled with recent contract awards, could push the ultimate value of the company to over $2 billion in a sale. The sale, should it happen, comes as the U.S. Army is gearing up for a broad effort to modernize its forces, including seeking prototypes of its next-generation combat vehicle in fiscal year 2022. Last month, AM General was awarded an Army contract for as many as 2,800 new M997A3 high-mobility, multi-purpose wheeled vehicle ambulances. The sale of AM General, which designs, engineers, and manufactures specialized vehicles for military and commercial customers, offers an opportunity to purchase a prime contractor that delivers a finished product to the Pentagon and not just an add-on system or service. And on the recall front, Honda Motor Company is recalling approximately 232,000 Accord and Insight models in the U.S. over a software malfunction that may cause failure in the rear camera display, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The recall covers certain 2018 Accords and 2019 Insight hybrids. In certain scenarios, the backup camera center display may not function properly, NHTSA said on its website. Honda is also recalling 14,000 vehicles in Canada, more than 6,000 in Germany, and about 3,000 in South Korea for the same malfunction. Honda will notify owners and dealers will reprogram the display auto unit software free of charge, according to NHTSA. The recall is expected to begin in November 5th of 2018. There have been no reports of accidents or injuries related to the problem. The software error may cause the center display assembly that normally displays the rear-view image to not display the rear-view image when the vehicle is in reverse, Honda said in a statement. Failure to display the rear-view image may reduce visibility and increase the risk of an accident. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.